Hi, in your example problem, you have estimate the answers after rounding to the indicated place value. So what they're asking you to do here is take a look at what's inside of the parentheses. This is where they want you to find the place value that you're going to round each of your numbers to. So this one says hundreds place. So we want to round each number to the hundreds place, and then you can perform the operation. Just like in example number 2. They want you in parentheses, it tells you that the place value to round to is in the tens. So we're going to look at the tens place, round each number to the tens, and then perform the operation. So let's scroll up your notes and do a little reminder about your rounding. So you're always going to take a look at where your place value is that you want to round, and then look to the right of that number, and it's going to tell you whether to round your number up or keep it the same. So anything 5 or higher, we're going to round up. Anything lower than 5 stays the same. So 5 will round up, and then anything lower than 5 is going to stay the same. So in their example on the rounding, you have 6.54. So I'm going to go ahead and write that off to the side over here, 6.54, and they're going to round it to the ones place. So if we look at our number in the ones place, here's my decimal, so just to the left of the decimal is your ones place. We don't know whether we're going to keep that 6 the same or we're going to round up. So we have to look to the right of our number that we're going to round up or keep the same, and that will tell us whether to round up or keep the same. 5 or higher, we're going to round up. Anything lower than 5, we're going to keep the same. So if I look at my number right here, it actually is a 5. So 5 or higher, we're going to round up. So higher, it is 5, or it could have been a 6 or a 7 or an 8 or a 9, and we would round that 6 up. So we're going to round it up 1. So 1 more than 6 gives us 7. And then everything after that number that you round, you're going to turn into zeros. So it'd be 7.00, or in this case, just 7. So this is the nearest, rounded to the nearest ones place would just give you 7. Let's look at another example right here. Let's look at 523. Okay, and then this example said round to the hundreds place. So we have ones, tens, hundreds. So we're looking at that 5. So we're going to look to the right of that 5 is a 2. 5 or higher, round up. Anything lower than 5, keep it the same. So our number 2 is lower than 5, so we're going to keep that 5 the same. And then all your numbers after the one that you're rounding, we're going to turn into zeros. So the 2 goes into a 0 and the 3 goes into the 0. So 523 rounded to the nearest hundredth place is 500. So you're going to do that with each of your numbers. So say we had 523 and we were going to add that to, say, 768. We already know that 523, and we're going to round to the 100 place. We already know 523 rounded to the nearest hundredths place is 500. So we're going to do that rounding to both of our numbers. So, and then once they're rounded, then we can add them together. So your other number is 768 in this example right here. Again, we're rounding to the nearest hundred. So we're going to look at that sevens place. That's what we're going to determine whether we round 7 up or are we going to keep the 7 the same. And look right to the right of that 7. Oh, it's a 6. 5 or higher round ups, lower than 5 keep the same. So this is 5 or higher, so it's a 6. So then we're going to round that 7 up. So we're just going to round it up to our next number, which is just 8. And then everything after that number that you rounded, we're going to turn into zeros. So the 6 turns into a 0 and the 8 turns into a 0. And then you can add your two numbers together. 500 plus 800 gives us 1300. So again, a few examples of rounding and then one example of going through that whole thing, round each of your numbers and then add them or subtract them or whatever your operation is to get your solution.